Life Skills, Lesson 3, Banking. Do your parents have a bank account? Do you have a separate account for any money that you have saved? What does a bank do? A bank holds your money or your deposit and keeps it in accounts that belong to you. Banks also lend money out in loans that you pay back over time. Why do I need a bank account? One, the bank protects your money through insurance. So just stuffing money, into a jar or under your mattress, that's not safe if somebody comes in and steals it. If someone tries to steal my money from my bank account and I notice that and tell the bank, they will give me my money back because it's insured. 2, you can earn money back for keeping your money in the bank. It's not tons that comes back to you, but depending on how much and how long you leave it in there, you will get some interest that builds, some money that comes back that's thanking you for letting them hold on to it. 3, it makes creating a budget and getting paid easier. So you can have a direct deposit. So instead of getting a check that you then have to take to the bank and turn into cash, your work can set up a direct line so that you're immediately paid into your account. And 4, you can get a checkbook and a debit card and use online services. So a debit card is pretty essential these days. You can use it to buy your groceries, to pay your bills, and you can use your checks to pay your rent or any other kind of big expense. This Banking 101 video, if you click on the link, is really useful, really easy and helpful. Give it a look and see if it answers your questions. Different types of accounts. Checking account. A checking account is one that you would use for your everyday spending. It's really what you'd use for most things, buying food and clothes, paying bills. It's where your paycheck would be deposited. Your savings account is for savings. It's an account used to keep large sums of money to save over time. Try to put money in it and then leave that money there. So if you're saving to go to school or for a big trip, you can have different kinds of savings accounts that you don't really touch. It's kind of a secret piggy bank that you're kind of keeping from yourself so that you don't spend it on your everyday things. So how do you open a bank account? Before opening an account, these are some important questions to consider. 1, decide what kind of account you need, checking and or saving. Most people have both. Can you think of what you would do with these kinds of accounts? Why would you want one but then not the other? How would you use both? Look for a bank with the services you'll use the most. Services like 24-hour helplines or a really good website, maybe an app for your phone. Maybe you need an ATM that you can access easily or branch locations that you can get into. Where is your nearest bank? Does the bank have many ATMs in the city where you live? And are they free? Is there a minimum balance that you must keep? Like a certain amount of money that you have to leave in the bank at all times. Sometimes that balance can be very small, like $5, and that's pretty doable. Or it might be much larger. Are you capable of leaving that amount in there? If so, what's the amount? What fees apply if you go under that limit? And is there an overdraft fee? So sometimes, as we talked about before, you might go over budget and maybe pay a little bit more than you actually had in the bank. So there would be a fee for that many times. Sometimes you can call the bank and say, uh-oh, I made a mistake, and they will let it go for free. But this is important to know before you go in and choose to have a bank. So if a banking place allows some of these mistakes, you might want to choose that one. Some places will require that you keep a certain amount of money in your account at all times. Make sure that you know what the rule is and that you can abide by those rules. Is there a limit to the number of transactions? So deposits or withdrawals, putting in money or taking out money, check writing, ATM uses that I have per month. If you know you need to move money around a lot, make sure you can make those transactions for free. Sometimes banks will say, oh, you can only pull money from this savings account 3 times a month. And if you go over that for whatever reason, you might get charged a fee. So any way you can avoid fees is good for your budget. Can I withdraw cash from ATMs without paying any fees? What is the fee for using an ATM that doesn't belong to this bank? Little fees, even a few dollars at a time, might seem like nothing. Like, oh, $3 to get my 40 bucks out doesn't seem like a big deal when I'm in a hurry and I need that money. But it can add up and it'll drain your account over time. And if you could be doing that for free, you're just throwing that money away. So do consider this. Documents you might need. 2 forms of identification. So this could be social security card, state ID, driver's license, a birth certificate, or a passport. Any kind of official government document that you use that gets you by in other situations will usually work out here. Sometimes they'll need proof of address, so maybe like some bills that you've received at your home, but not always. These are pretty much the basics. Debit cards versus credit cards. Debit cards allow bank customers to spend the money that they deposited into their checking account. This is your money. You worked for it. You did the work at your job, and then your boss sent that money to your bank, and then you just pull from that money. Credit cards are different because they allow consumers to borrow money that isn't theirs. You're taking it from a company that's lending it to you, but they expect you to pay back with interest, meaning pay what you owe and then a little bit extra, and that little bit can add up. So it might be pretty tricky to pay back. This is not your money. This is a place where lots of people have problems, especially young people who don't really understand how this works, because it seems like you have a magical card that just lets you buy the things that you want right away. And tomorrow seems so far away, and paying it off seems like something that you will do. But when it adds up and your budget stays the same, it can be really difficult to find the money to pay off those fees, to pay off that excess. So be very careful with credit cards. Be careful with your debit cards. Be on a budget. These things are important. And there is a difference between using a debit, it's your money, and a credit card, which is borrowed money that you have to pay extra money back to that company. Banking analysis. Read through the sample bank statement on the next slide and then answer the following questions about what you notice. What can you tell about this person based on their spending? Can you go through each line and think about what might have been happening with this budget and how the person was thinking about it? How would you help this person use their statement to think about changing their spending and budgeting habits? So here at the top on the left is the available balance, $50.53 in the checking account, available in the savings account is $695. But again, remember, that's the one that we try to not touch all the time. So even though it looks like, well, I have $700 that I could use whenever I wanted, that might not really be the case. You want to think of that money as not easily touchable. That way you can actually save it. Otherwise, you're just throwing it basically back into your checking. So if you look at the dates, they'll show, certain companies, certain bills that are paid for, Verizon, $108. There's an overdraft fee, so that should tell you something about maybe somebody went over budget, and the bank had to kind of cover for them, and now you end up paying $30 for that coverage. Planet Fitness, Big B, a coffee shop, Prime membership, different apps that they pay for, different restaurants they go to, and different bills that they pay. So you could consider going back to that like budgeting lesson. What are the necessities here? What are the luxuries? Is there a way to clean up this budget and make the money flow a little better? Maybe tighten the spending so that this person does not end up having overdraft fees in the future.